Hello students, today I'll discuss with you your first poem on his blindness. This is a very beautiful and short poem. This poem and this sonnet is written by John Milton. John Milton was a great English poet. He is known for his world famous epic Paradise Lost. Due to his constant hard work and study, he became totally blind at the age of the 44. Milton's poetic style is grand and majestic. In his poetry, there is a wonderful union of intellectual and imaginative powers. His blindness forced him to dictate his verse and prose to amanuenses who copied them out for him. And this one of these was poet Andrew Marvell. And do you know what it means? Amanuensis. Amanuensis, that means one employed to take dictation or copy manuscript. On his blindness is one of the famous sonnet of Milton. I called it sonnet. Famous sonnet of Milton. Do you know what is sonnet? Sonnet is a poem of the 14 lines. It means if you count this poem, is the total 14 lines and you can call it sonnet. Milton became blind when his life most important work was still before him. He said at his blindness because he feels that he cannot write poems and serve God with his gift of writing poetry. He grumbles against God, but his patience consoles him. This sonnet consoles him, and this sonnet is consist of having two parts, and the first one of the octave and the second one of the sestet. Okay students, let's start your stanza 1. When I consider how my light is spent ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide lost with me useless. Guys, in these lines, when Milton became totally blind in the middle of his age at the very early age of 44, he thinks about the loss of his eyesight. In these lines, when I consider how my light is spent, when he thinks about the loss of his eyesight, he becomes sad. He is left alone in this dark and wide world. Here is mentioned in this dark world and wide. He is left alone in this dark and wide world. This whole world becomes dark for him. And the one talent which is death to hide. In these lines, the poet says that God has given him the talent of writing poetry. But this talent is lying useless with him. Here is mentioned, lost with me useless. That means this talent is lying useless with him. And thou my soul more bent to serve there with my maker and present my true account, lest he returning chide. He wants to present his true account to God. It means poet John Milton wants to use is the talent of writing poetry, but due to his blindness, he cannot use this talent. And he is unable to serve God because he wants to write the religious poetry, but he is unable to do so. And with this talent, because of his blindness, lest he returning chide, he fears that God will rebuke him for not using this gift of writing poetry. Next stanza. Doth God exactly labor, light denied? I fondly ask, but patience to prevent. That murmur soon replies. God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts, who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. Here is the one word, hyphenated word is mentioned in the first line, day labor. Day labor is a symbolic meaning. This word is used for a person, those who can see the word clearly. And light denied, that means without light. This phrase is used for the blind person. In this line, both God exact day labor, light denied. Milton is very sad at the loss of his eyesight. He grumbles whether God demands work for him, although he himself made him blind. And but patience to prevent that murmur soon replies. Here is the writer think that God demand him for his work, but his patience to prevent him and to prevent his murmuring, to prevent him his whispering, and soon replies. He consoles himself, and but the poet patience calms down his murmur. He tells that God doth not need. That means God doesn't need either man's work or his return of his gifts. And who is those whom patiently, who best bear his mild yoke. That means those who patiently bear the duties given by God are his true servants. Who is the good servant of the God is the good servant, those who patiently bear the duties. And which duties given by God are his true servants. In these lines shows Milton's faith in God. Is it clear? Two stanzas. And now, third stanza. His state is kingly, thousands at his biding speed, and post over land and ocean without rest. They also serve who only stand and wait. In these lines, when Milton becomes sad and his patience console him, God doesn't need any work. God doesn't demand of any gift, returning of his gift. And Milton patience tells him that God doesn't need man's work. And God is like a great king. His state is kingly. That means God is like a great king. Thousands of his biding speed. That means thousands of angels are at his services. And they rush and post over land and ocean without rest. That means they here is for you use for the angels. Thousands of angels rush over land and ocean without rest in order to carry out his commands. It means they are ready to do work, all the duties that is given by the God. But some angels do not work. They stand and wait. Here is the mention. They also serve and who only stand and wait. That means some angels do not work. They stand and wait for his orders. Whenever God ordered him, and they are ready to do every work, and to fulfill his duties. They are also his best servants. Thus, these lines shows Milton's faith that the best service of God is to have complete faith in him. And this sonnet is over. And now we will discuss. John Milton was a religious poet. His poem on his blindness also contain a moral. It teaches us to have complete faith in God. The real service of God is faith in him. And God is like a great king. Thousands of angels are at his commands. And they rush over land and ocean without rest in order to carry his orders. And after that, you will do practice of this poem. And in this sonnet, a stanza is given to you, and you will write it. You will write its reference to the context and the explanation. Students, I'll give you the one pattern of the context and the explanation or then you will practice on it. Thank you. Have a good day.